Alright, let's talk about steering. This is on the earlier model, Tercels. This is at the firewall. And the shaft slides inside, and of course there's a bolt to lock it in place. The short version for the power steering, this attaches right to the top of the steering rack. And this would be for the manual type, a little bit longer. Then you have this model, which is the later models, which for power steering, so there's no joint coming out of the firewall here like there's on this one. It's just a rod that sticks out. And then you have this little joint here that attaches to here, and this end attaches to the top of the steering rack. Now if there was a manual for this style, this shaft would have to be longer. See, the difference in length is 3 inches between the power and the manual. Now this shaft is 6 3/4 long, so for a manual it would have to be 9 3/4 to make it work. And I don't even know if there is one for a manual. I don't recall seeing a manual in a later model car. I thought I'd add this at the end. I did a more precise measurement, and instead of being 3 inches longer, they're actually 2 13/16. So if you want to convert your car, all you have to do is change those two parts on the earlier models, but on this one you actually have to pull the steering columns out of the car and switch them. And you can see I started taking one of these apart so I could replace the U-joint. This is the type of U-joint I bought online for 20 bucks, delivered to the house. This is what the kit comes with: some Zerk fittings or a plug and some snap clips. And this is the old style. They get all pretty rusty and little needles inside, be missing or corroded. Pretty sad shape. So a sure sign there's something wrong with it is when you can take the joint and grab both ends of this, one each hand, and then twist and move, and these joints here are loose because the bearings are worn out. So I'm gonna try to make a video to show how I replaced the joint here. Alright, the first thing we have to do is get it apart. And when these caps were pressed in, right here you can see there's just a little notch one right here. It's a little more pronounced on this one. You can see where they just kind of press the metal over onto this so that this cap can't come out. So it makes it kind of hard to get these apart because of this right here. So what I want to do, I'm going to push the cap down just a little bit, then I can take my Dremel tool and flush this off, both of these, and then I can push this cap back up this way and get it out of there. That's the plan. Okay, I'm going to be using these sockets to help me out. The idea of this socket is such that the cap fit inside of it. So it's about ID roughly 0.75, somewhere there. And then these will be used to press the caps. So smallest one I have is 0.611 diameter, and this one's a little bigger at 0.622, which works because the hole in these is 16 millimeter, which is just a little bit larger than 0.625, 5/8 of an inch. So I'll be using this I guess it's a wrist pin out of a piston, but it's exactly 0.625 diameter, 5/8, and it just fits in there just right, just a little loose enough to get in there. But recommend you find those tools before you start. Okay, here we have the 0.611 diameter socket. It's going to push the cap in a little bit, and this is the approximately 0.75 ID, enough clearance for the cap. But I don't want this cap to move. Hopefully just this cap will move. Okay, you can see I got that cap to move that direction, about 1/8 of an inch. I just tapped on this lightly as I tightened up the vise on it to get it to shift. You don't want to hit this very hard. You just vibrations enough to get it to move. Okay, I managed to push that cap down a little bit. Now where those indentations are, I can get a Dremel tool in there and get rid of those indentations. There's one right there on the bottom, one right on the top. That will be my Dremel tool of choice. So what I'll do is I'll just take and try to hold as vertical as I can, and just right there and on the other side, just kind of take that little nip off of there so that I'll be able to push the cap out this way. You can see the little polished area where I cleared out that little depressions. Okay, now I'm trying to press this. You can see how this is shifted over. I'm going to try to push that cap all the way through. Just tightening on the... Let's see, it's pushing this cap in this way, and this one's going this way inside of here. I'll just keep going until I get this down as tight as I can get it. Hopefully free that cap up. You can see I've got the cap up high enough where now I can grab it with a pair of channel locks or vice grips and wiggle it back and forth and get it off. You can see the bottom one is pretty much all the way through. I'm going to have to push it all the way back through out the other way. So I'll be pulling this socket out of here and cleaning up those little nibs so I can push it out the other way. Okay, I did some twisting with my channel locks and I pulled the cap off. Okay, now that I have that cap down, I'm going to take my Dremel tool and take off those little nibs. Now we're pushing that one back the other direction. I can get that cap off of there. Now if you can get these caps out without wrecking them, usually this just damages them too much to reuse them, but I have gotten them out. It's very difficult to get them out without damaging them, but if you can get them out, sometimes you can reuse them, just relubricate them. I've done that before, but to me it's just cheaper and easier to just buy a dang kit. It's only 20 bucks. The cap was kind of hard to get out, so I took the U-joint part out and I'll just press it out. Yeah, just getting the last of that cap out of there. Alright, no cap. Okay, once you get the thing apart, you need to clean out the inside of these things. Make sure there's no burrs in there or anything. It wouldn't hurt to take some like 600 grit sandpaper and just roll it around in there. That way you can see if there's any irregularities. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Having this 5/8 diameter pin, I can push it through there, and if I can get it through there reasonably well, then I know that I'm going to be able to get those bearings in there. If you can't get this through there, then there must be a burr or something. It needs to be cleaned up. Same with this one. Clean it up. Okay, you can see I pulled the caps off. That's how they should look inside there. Look at this one. One of the little needles fell out. So I got to make sure I get the needle back in, and then smear some grease around on those needles so they can't come out of there. There is enough grease. You can see the grease on that one, where you can take a small screwdriver and just kind of smear it around inside there. Make sure that the needles can't come out while we're reinstalling. Okay, I have the two caps in, and now I can start pressing it together in the vise. I recommend that you don't use a vise like this. Get yourself some of these copper covers to put over the teeth. Okay, I put in the vise and very carefully started tightening down the vise, and then when I got the cap on the left far enough in, I could slide this way into this cap. Make sure that they're both in there right. Now I can press both of them in all the way. I was having a little trouble getting it in. When I put the tension on it with the vise, the one on the right wasn't moving, so I just tapped it lightly like that and popped right on. Alright, they're both, that one's almost flush, but not quite. Alright, with a little bit of messing around, I got the, you can see the snap rings are installed. And now I can put the other part together. Okay, I got it together. While I had it in the vise, I ended up taking this big punch, and I set it on and tapped it with the hammer, and boy, it went kapow. It just, there was I guess it was binding just enough where it couldn't get in, but when I tapped it, it just popped right in. So all that's left now is to put the Zerk fitting in. Okay, Zerk fitting installed. I think I'm done. Okay, well, I was just talking about tapping it. Make sure it's in the vise when you're doing that. I didn't clarify that. I had it under tension under the vise, careful tension, so I don't want to over tighten without things moving. If things are binding, then you don't want to keep going. So you just put it on there and you just tap the end of this with a hammer lightly, and just the vibration is enough to pop any binding free. Alright, this is for 87, and I'm going to modify it. I need to be 2 13/16 longer overall, so from here to here it's 2 13/16. So I'm going to cut the shaft at about 2 5/8. It's already inserted so that the slot there is about 1 inch in. So with that being 1 inch, cut it at 2 5/8 and insert it into here, and then cut this off, have it welded. I think that'll work. Change a power steering on 87 to manual. Okay, I cut the piece, and I cut off the wings here, and I drilled and tapped this for 1/4 20. And you can see this is the 2 13/16. This is all the way in. I pull it out. I can get out there to over. So anyway, over 2 13/16. So anyway, I've got lots of adjustment, and I just need to get all this welded up really good right here, and then we'll get rid of that.